For those of you who would rather do FK controls on your arm, that is what this version of the tutorial is going to go over. So we're just going to do FK controls on our arms. Instead of IK controls, we did do IK controls on our legs. All right, so first things first, when you work with IKs, right, the entire control of the arm stems from the wrist. Well, it's the opposite with FKs. So we are going to start with the control for the clavicle, which will drive a control for the shoulders, which will drive a control for the elbows, which will drive a control for the wrist, which will then drive a control for all the fingers. All right, so let's start by creating a control for the clavicle. So I'm actually going to create something out of type here. And we're going to go over to the type mesh tool, type 1, and we're going to change this to the letter C. We're going to go to geometry and we're going to create a curve from the geometry. And so if you look in here, here's the curve. Let's get rid of any history. And then we're going to shift P. Now you can make a circle too if you wanted to. You don't have to make an actual, actual curve that is tight. Okay, so we're going to name this CC_L_ clavicle 01. I'm also going to copy this. So there's a bunch of different ways that we can do this. We could just make the controls and as we have been doing, and have the locators drive them. And we are going to do that. For the clavicle, it's going to be just a tiny bit different. I am going to group this clavicle. Now, you do not have to actually do this if you don't want to, but I actually want the clavicle control to rotate in the same direction as the clavicle joint. So in order to do that, we're actually going to, well, first I'm going to make this a lot smaller. And then, oh, I goofed. Let's center pivot for the group. And we are going to select both the group and the clavicle joint. Actually, let's shift P. First, let's center pivot for this curve, and we are going to center it to our friend here, the center of the grid. All right, and then we're going to freeze transformations and delete history. Then we're going to group it. Apologize for doing things out of order. When you orient controls this way, you really want to start them from the center of the grid. So with our group selected, we're going to shift select the clavicle joint, hit P to parent, go to our channels box, and zero out all the translate and rotate channels. Type 0. And then we're going to go to edit, unparent. And the reason we're not doing shift P is we still have a selection in our group. So this is just the easiest way to ungroup that. And now you see there's a whole bunch of numbers. But if we select our clavicle control, it's nice and clean. But look at the angle that it's at. That angle is what we wanted. We want it to be oriented to our joint. All right, so I am now going to move this outside of my character's body. I'm going to make it smaller, and then I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to rotate it 2 ways, so it kind of looks like it's, you know, forward facing. All right, cool. All right, so next thing that we are going to do is we are going to select our control and hit LAT. We're going to make our locator smaller. Let's make it 0.5. It's already named accordingly. And we are going to, with the locator selected, select the joint. We're going to constrain orient, make sure you're back in rigging. And let's make sure maintain offset is unchecked. We're going to click add. And then we should be able to rotate this. And we can. So with the locator selected, I'm going to shift select the control and hit P to parent. And that's really great. So now that works. Okay, I'm actually going to select my group node here, mirror it, search and replace names, and I'm going to get rid of the, oopsie, going to not get rid of the control, get rid of the locator on the right hand side. Okay, so I have my right hand side control. I will need to make a locator for it. I'll do that later. In the meantime, I'm just going to rotate it so that it's facing properly. And let's go to the side view. Yeah, that's not. There we go. Looking good. Okay, so we have 2 clavicle controls. I'm actually going to rotate that. And one is working, one is not. All right, let's make this guy red and make this one blue. And let's get started with all the other controls. So we need a shoulder control. I'm going to make a circle. And I am going to, this time, what we're going to just do is do this old-fashioned way. So we're just going to snap this to the shoulder, freeze transformations, delete history, go into component mode, and move this up above our character. Let's see what the character looks like in reference mode. Yeah. So this is going to be our shoulder control. I'm going to rotate it. Once again, we are just in component mode here. And I'm going to raise this up. I want it kind of to look like a shoulder pad. So that's where I'm going with this. You don't have to have yours look like a shoulder pad. It doesn't have to. If I make this go down, what'll be? Horrible. Okay. All right, so here's my shoulder pad. I'm going to select everything, maybe move it down just a bit and move it forward. Okay, so there is my shoulder control. So let's name it CC underscore L underscore shoulder 01. And I'm going to mirror it and then rename it. Okay, so now I am going to use my LAT, Mel script, see, 0.5 in my local scale. And I'm going to orient constraint my locator to my joint, and then parent the